Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Hour. Today is Friday, the 3rd of July, and we are 1 week closer to the end of the bear market, so to speak. So let's go into a usual routine. So we'll have a look first at the macro events of the week. Today is a short week because today obviously is the 4th of July. So sorry, tomorrow, being the day before the 4th of July, is a public holiday in the US, so main markets are closed. But let's go and have a look. Let's go and have a look at the rest of the week and the main announcement that happened yesterday, and we'll see what the effects they have had on markets. Okay, let me share my screen. Can you all see my screen? Just give me a thumbs up or just confirm that you can see. Otherwise, there'll be. Can you see my screen? Yeah, perfect. Okay, fantastic. So as you can see, it was a fairly light week in terms of economic announcements. So there wasn't really much there at all. So they, as I highlighted by the very few red file icons. The main thing is like on Wednesday we had manufacturing numbers. They're slightly down on the previous month and also on the expected forecast, both in terms of the measure which is basically a polling of manufacturing managers. And also manufacturing prices that have actually started climbing down slightly. And this possibly also is due to the reduction in the price of oil, following this sort of like calming down of the water between US and Iran and the partial reopening on the Strait of Hormuz. So now oil is at prices like a pre-war prices. Which then will reflect on the next few weeks and months on the prices at the gates, so to speak. So the prices for that the manufacturing companies pay to produce the goods, and then we find in the shops. So these prices eventually find their way onto the supplies, the shops that we use to buy things, and then obviously they have an effect on inflation. So a lowering down of these prices means less pressure on inflation as well down the road. But this is the main announcement that we had this week, which is the what is called the non-farm payroll, which is like a monthly again estimation of how many jobs have been added in the non-farm part of the US economy. Now, and this again has an effect because it's a like taking the temperature of the job market, which again has an influence on interest rates, and an interest rate setting by the Fed. So the pressure recently, as a talk about the Fed is being that they are thinking of raising interest rates rather than lowering them to control inflation. Okay, so we've had two bits of news that have been positive on that front. One is, as I said, the manufacturing numbers coming down, so a little bit less pressure on inflation. But the other big mandate that the Fed has is jobs. So they need to keep a healthy labor market, and this is where these numbers have also been taken positively by the investing community because they're being much lower than expected. So it means that it's the job market in the US at the moment is fairly stagnant. This is what this number indicates. Only 57,000 jobs added, against exactly half of what was expected and even lower on the amounts that we've had last month. Okay, so even if the unemployment rate has actually ticked down slightly from 4.3 to 4.2%, it's fairly weak job market. Then acts on the other mandate for the Fed. So to stimulate the job market, the Fed should really lower interest rates. To control inflation, they should raise interest rates. Okay, so the pressure to raise interest rates are gone a little bit down because of because lower, lower prices at the gate, so at the manufacturing companies. And at the same time, there is now like it's seen like a pressure to actually keep interest rates the same or lowering them to stimulate the job market. Okay, so as an effect that this has had, so we can see here on we go onto the daily chart of Bitcoin. Can you see from where we were last week, where Bitcoin was hovering around 60,000, during the week it actually was trying to push down even lower, and we created a new yearly low on Wednesday at what was that, 57,800 exactly. Okay, since then, I say yesterday, you can see the effect he had. So yesterday we were hovering around 60,000, and then the announcement is pushed it closer to 62,000. Okay, so it's a 2,000 out of 60 is like a 3.5% in one day after like a very, very weak performance from Bitcoin, all the way from we can see here, so all the way from February. It is definitely some kind of green shoots, but also we got to recognize that at the moment any activity rather than a crypto activity in itself, it's actually it's micro activity that's really been dominating the picture so far. So that's the main thing that basically saying inflation risk have come down slightly, and so there are now hopes of maybe seeing an interest rate cut in the next few months, maybe before the end of the year. Now, obviously, this comes under the picture that we're seeing in June with historic outflows from the crypto ETFs. So if I can go into that. So if we can go to here and have a look at the activity over the past couple of weeks, can you see kind of like a wave of red? So this last column on the right-hand side shows you that from the 18th of June until the 1st of July, we have constant outflows of capital from the crypto ETFs, to the 601 billion. So around $2 billion have flown out of the market. So a considerable amount of money that's flown out of the crypto market. And then again, we start seeing the first green shoots. Like yesterday, we had the first green numbers, so 200 million that have come back into the crypto ETFs. And as usual, kind of like BlackRock has been dominated the ETFs market. I mean, yesterday, for some reason, Fidelity actually had most of the the funds coming in. This is the picture of the crypto ETFs. Like I can say, BlackRock has enough Bitcoin, probably more than all the other providers combined. Yeah, I don't know exactly the percentage, but you can see visually that's more than 50% of the total market, ETF market. Okay, and then Fidelity and Grayscale, the other two big providers, and then the smaller ones here on the right-hand side. And now, also, what you got to consider is that all this drop that we've had in June. So if I mark June, so this is the beginning of June, and that's the end of June. So also June represents like the end of the half of the year. So the first half of the year now is closed with, the lowest close that we've had in Bitcoin this year at 58.5. And now in July, we started a new quarter, a new half of the year. Now, traditionally, July has been a good month for Bitcoin, but there is something to also, a little observation, and it is no more than that. But if we look at a 6-monthly chart, now this is a very long-term chart. Okay, so basically each you know, each candle represents 6 months of activity. The only two times before yesterday that we've had two consecutive red candles in Bitcoin, they have been followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 periods of growth. So 6 periods of growth, it means like 3 years. Okay. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is one, yeah, a little bit less. But so at the 6 month, we've had the actual market top, okay, on the six candle. So we're saying it can be just an observation, but also combining with other observation that we've had, kind of like looking at the relationship between the previous market top and the following bear market bottom. And we can see what happened again between 2018 and 2022. And then we can project that with the top from 2021 and the low that so far we are hit. And by applying the same percentage that we have in 2018, the bottom of this cycle could be around 54,000. But what we see from cycle to cycle, we see those numbers are getting tighter. So I wouldn't be surprised if if this was the actual bottom of the cycle, of the bear cycle, and we stopped at a minus 16% compared to the previous high, which is kind of what we hit really on Wednesday. Okay, so we could have hit completely the bottom of this bear market, or we could move lower. And I say that by guessing, based on the past, past drops that we've had, that would be around the 54,000. Okay, so it would be like kind of like a 10% drop from where we are now. But at least that gives you like a modicum of good hope, and I think kind of like also indicate that we are in a good buying spot for Bitcoin. And then we know that Bitcoin is the Trojan horse in a way. It's the first mover, of the crypto market, and then the rest of the tokens generally follow the Bitcoin activity. So then when an established new uptrend, it's on the charts for Bitcoin, then we'll see the major altcoins move, and then following that, generally we see the smaller altcoins also or making a push, especially as that market hasn't really moved that much in the previous bull cycle. So this is an observation. So could we see if that means that we see then like a 3 year upcycle that is starting really from this half of the year? Where could that take us? So let's do the same thing, but instead of looking at the bottom, we look at the movement from top to top. Oh, sorry, let me just put the magnet so I can actually get it. I can get it right. Okay, so we had from 2017 top to the 2021 top is a 248% price increase. From the 2021 to the 2025 top was an 82% increase. Okay, so 250, 82%. If we say then, just we can either apply the same relationship between two, basically 1/3 of the increase that we've had in the previous cycle, or halving it. We can then project a actually, this is confusing more than anything. I'll just use another line. So 1/3 of 82 is 27.5. Let's say, so that takes us to about 160. If we were to go like half of the previous increase would take us to about 190. So this is more like what I was expecting, for the previous cycle to end up to around the 200,000, to end about 200,000 mark. It will still mean, even if we got to 188 in a kind of like a year and a half, 2 years, that would mean like over a 3 times increase, from the prices today. So it's 60,000, 180 is trebling, would be trebling today's valuation, and this is in Bitcoin. So obviously for smaller coins that would mean much higher multiplier. But this is just having really kind of like a gentle expectations, okay? Even like at 30%, that would take us to 160, which is like 2.5 times where we are now. So if Bitcoin grows 2.5 times, generally all coins will grow to 4, 5, 6 times during the same time. So if we were to apply that metric, to the current, this is the smaller cap altcoins, so excluding the top 10. Okay, so if we were from where we are right now, if we were to grow like 4 or 5 times, which is not unusual to expect, so that would take us to about 700 billion. At the moment we are at about 170, but at the top in 2021 we hit about almost like 500. So it wouldn't be an expectation of having like a 50% increase from the 2021 valuation. And as you can see, in 2024, when we hit the current top of this, we didn't even manage to beat the 2021 top. So from here, if we imagine that we can grow to about 700 billion, so that again, it will be like a 300% increase. But take it to 50%, which is about 750 billion, that would be like 330% increase on average on the whole crypto market, excluding the top 10 coins. Okay, which is still a considerable potential. I mean, nothing is guaranteed, and we don't have a crystal ball. We're just trying to guess where we could go from here. But this is a kind of I would say moderate expectation. So I fully expect to hit these levels. But to be honest with you, with a word of caution, I was expecting to hit these levels last year. Okay, but that didn't happen. But I still see all the signs why we should be hitting these levels over the next probably year and a half, 2 years, moving towards the middle, going towards the next halving event, which will be in 2028. We will probably be around the new market top around that time. So let's now have a look at other drivers that have caused like the headwinds that we're seeing again in Bitcoin in June. A lot of it's down to the sector rotation. Okay, and so if we go here, so all this big drop in June, which we can see is quite considerable. Although he had already dropped a lot from the market high, he still dropped another 22% during June alone. Okay, maybe a little bit less. Yeah, 30th of June, that was the close. So 21% in June alone, and a lot of this is due not so much as again crypto-related activity. A lot of his sector rotation and a lot of the risk capital was taken out from many different sources, by including crypto, to then be invested in AI and semiconductors. So we've had the first IPO of SpaceX a couple of weeks ago, and we have the other two big IPOs of Anthropic and OpenAI. Again, they are going to happen very soon. So obviously that is seen like the momentum play at the moment. So a lot of the risk capital has moved towards those areas, and so it kind of like needs to play out before capital starts flowing back into crypto and the next momentum play. That at the moment we have to say, we got to be honest, we couldn't say that crypto is a momentum play. So we're still in a very deep downtrend at the moment until we at least we start moving back into the high 60s and low 70s. We are still in the expectation is still the price go down until we are proven, and that is not the case. And the proof will come here. Okay, so that is the closest swing point. As you can see here, we established a new low in June. Then we had a push up from 60 to 67, and then again a new low. Okay, so now that we established a new low, this is the controlling point that we need to break to then start even thinking about, okay, a move up to to higher levels. So if we don't, until we break this, the expectation is still that the price will be lower. Okay, so we'll see as and when this happens, if we're going to really have that move to the mid to low 50s that we were talking about before, or if instead we start showing signs of a push to the higher levels by breaking this first, and then starting to establish a series of higher lows and higher highs, which are the building blocks. Well, excuse me, the building blocks of an uptrend. Okay, now there's a few things I wanted to share with you that to show you that even during like an extended downtrend that we have seen since October of last year, since we established an all-time high at $126,000, even during this time where the prices of Bitcoin and other crypto coins have more than halved, there is still a lot of activity going on, and a lot of the building blocks of why we think that we are still in a winning technology and in something that will go up in time is because of how that is being integrated in different products, in different activities, in our everyday life, and these things are things that take time. So and obviously in June, apart from anything else, there has been a contraction in the level of stable coins by over 5 billion. So the liquidity in the crypto market has also come down as a result of that, and that is reflected on prices too. But within that backdrop, there are quite a few things to notice, bits of news. So this is interesting. Like three of Japan's largest bank, so Mitsubishi, Sumitomo, and Mizuho, have announced plans to jointly issue a stable coin by March 2027. So this is going to be like a yen stable coin. So as we know, there are already on the market stable coins in different currencies, but the US dollar stable coins represents I can't remember exactly what the percentage is, but we are well over 95% of the total stablecoin market. So having a strong supported stablecoin also in other currency, we know that there's already a Tether Euro, for example, but there are some very small yen stablecoins, but have a major yen stablecoin is another way of entering another potential mean of exchange into that has got like lots of solidity behind it into the digital money market. Okay, so again, so it shows you that these kind of institutions, they don't really jump into something because they want to make a quick buck, but they are seeing that the building blocks of financial institution are changing and they're moving with the times. So just that they're doing it because it's a good idea to do it, not because um, they are just like launching or want to champion in a new technology. The new technology has existed now for years, but they think that now it's used quite a lot. So they join, they are proactive and present something to the market, or they're just going to have to use somebody else's solution. So they want to get there, basically having sort of like a first mover advantage in this market as well. So it's another kind of like obscure kind of news, so to speak. So these are not things that you would have heard about, but these are Alchelyst. It's an integrated investor solution and infrastructure partner for private markets asset managers. So they are now announced a partnership with this Allfunds blockchain, which is a business-to-business fund distribution platform to help asset managers process investor transactions more efficiently. Okay, so again, this is a new thing. You see now as blockchain technology is finding its way into products that were already existing. So this is, it's not as if Alchelyst, needed blockchain technology to launch. They're already being very active, but they can see the advantages now of using certain technology to improve their offering. So yeah, it says, our focus is on building infrastructure for modern private markets that enables, so GPs is not doctors, but it's like this is private asset managers to scale. So Alchelyst clients gain distribution reach that will typically require significant investment to build independently. Okay, so having tokenized systems and a solid platform, allows then private fund managers to market their funds a lot more easily and distribute them around the world with very cheap and simple transactions. So as you can say, it basically is automating workflows they have traditionally been manual intervention workflows. So they then gain a way to join one of the larger distributor networks in the world. And so basically then the private markets that have a much bigger market to sell their products to without needing to all the extra regulatory activity that you need to join, one of the big markets like a New York Stock Exchange or Nasdaq or anything like this. Okay, so moving on to more news. So, after one of the reasons also why prices came down quite a lot was all this talk that you might have heard about MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor's company, which is the biggest corporate holder of Bitcoin, having sold some Bitcoin, having tested. So for the first time, they have sold just a tiny little bit of Bitcoin, to finance a purchase of debt they have in the market. Now, so obviously that's caused a lot of panic because they're thinking, oh, well, MicroStrategy is now selling because they can't maintain the interest payments on the preferred shares and all like that. And so that has caused like a kind of like an expectation, almost like a cascade of people like panicking and selling their Bitcoin because they were on the expectation of an upcoming Bitcoin crash down to zero and all the things that you hear in panic news. But during the drop at 60,000 and below, so a Japanese investment firm called Metaplanet has acquired an additional 2,800 Bitcoin for about 170 million. Okay, so you can see now that professional investors are actually now starting to buy the dip. Okay, so it's not a small play. It's 170 million worth of Bitcoin, and that contributed as well to the move back from 57, 58 to the current level, just short of 62,000. But again, it's indications that, for any seller, there is a buyer, and there is still a strong appetite for institutional ownership of Bitcoin. And remember that although you can trade Bitcoin futures, as much as you want, there is only a limited number of spot Bitcoin that will be the base of the financial world of tomorrow. So there's lots and lots of institutions that are now have a clear plan of increasing their ownership of Bitcoin, and this is one move in that direction. Now, we couldn't do this during the World Cup without talking about football. Now, most of you know Kraken, one of the largest exchanges in the world. And again, Kraken is expected to do an IPO this year. But in here, talking about that visibility of crypto as well, Kraken has become the official crypto exchange supporter in North America and Europe of the World Cup. Okay. So, and again, support fan engagement initiatives and the usual thing in cities across Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Okay, so they increase in their visibility, obviously, and part of this marketing effort is due to their IPO and when that will be launched. I'm not quite sure when the IPO is expected to be launched, but I know that they were talking about it like happening this year. But again, it's something that at the moment the World Cup is watched by literally billions of people. So putting a big, a recognizable crypto name in front of everybody's eyes contributes to making crypto more visible. No, simple things, simple actions like this. Now you would have seen, now there are crypto sponsorships in many football teams and many football events. You often see in club football stadiums across the world. You can see crypto adverts for different whether it's crypto.com or other type of initiatives. There's plenty of crypto sponsorship. We often see, for example, VeChain, which is one of the crypto projects that it's like a business crypto projects to develop supply chain infrastructure using blockchain technology. Is for years have been advertised in sports events. So again, more visibility for the crypto market, and that should help us to see the move between the current around 500 million people that have access to crypto to moving into the billions, and that will really be the mass usage phase that we haven't quite seen yet. It was kind of like expected to move into the phase like with the during the current cycle, but hasn't really materialized so far. But there are initiatives like this that are starting to show how how we can start seeing the crypto and the visibility of crypto in places that are very highly distributed. Okay, so this is another type of announcement, for example, like Robinhood. So there's a couple of announcements on Robinhood. Robinhood, which is one kind of like a trading app that's used a lot, especially by the younger generations. They've announced a new layer 2 blockchain. So it's been on the test net, I think, for quite a few months. So it's not really a new thing. But now it's been officially launched on July the 1st. So include not just its own layer 2 blockchain, but also tokenized stocks, excuse me, decentralized lending and crypto trading with including AI agents and also perpetual futures like the ones that you find on Bybit or Hyperliquid and so on. So this has been built on the Arbitrum platform, which is a layer 2 Ethereum chain, and it's already integrated with Uniswap and Chainlink. Okay, so again, not only will this bring crypto to all the Robinhood users, which are a lot longer than a lot more numerous than the crypto users, but also will give them access to being able to to also trade cryptocurrencies within their platform, but in a decentralized way as well. So that's interesting. They're adopting that technology as well. And also Robinhood is pushing in another direction as well. They have acquired the WonderFi, which is a regulated crypto exchange in Canada. So they are pushing the crypto offering as well in Canada. While again, continuing the institutional business they are developed through Bitstamp. Okay, so they are wanting to become a really global financial trading ecosystem, but with strong roots also in crypto, because they recognize that there is a lots of people that they are interested in crypto and want to trade it on a regular basis. So they want to make sure that they are the option that people can choose when wanting to engage with the crypto market. So are we covered most of the things? Yeah. Yeah, so we covered most of the things I wanted to share with you. So let's go into discussing, question and answers, or anybody that wants to contribute with new items that maybe we haven't talked about, and then we are also here for this. So anybody wants to excuse me, I'm still on the tail end of a bronchitis that I'm getting rid of, but it's getting better every day. So anybody wanted to contribute or ask questions? Don't talk all at once. Guys, feel free to actually. I would encourage you to also turn your cameras on so you can be seen a little bit. Jonathan, would you like to share any Cardano related news?
Morning. Cardano news. Well, I was in a call yesterday for Midnight, the network, the new network from Charles Hoskinson that is looking very good, very exciting. And they were discussing their latest product. This is alpha. Nobody's heard this before, which is called the Midnight Passport. And it's a very exciting development for the crypto industry as a whole, because if you don't know, Midnight Network is designed to sit sort of in between various different blockchains. It's sort of resolves back to Cardano, but it equally as well talks to Ethereum or Solana or any of these other large networks. And they have this vision to create an easy onboarding system for anybody in the crypto industry. So we've probably all been there. When you start up, you're told about seed phrases, about spending passphrases, about keeping your assets safe, trying to find money to buy hardware wallets as well as invest in crypto. It all gets very complicated. Well, they're talking about Midnight Passport as being a way to avoid all that. You just have um, a more traditional way of onboarding, like we have for Web 2, which is single sign-on accounts. If you've got an account with Google, then you can just log in. If you've got an account with Microsoft, then you can just log in to many different apps and services. And Midnight Passport is aiming to be that sort of easy access position in the middle. And the innovation is around the trusted execution environment on your mobile phone. So I don't know if you know, but inside modern mobile phones, there effectively is the equivalent of a hardware wallet. It's a dedicated bit of hardware that is robust and secure and can't be tampered with, that carries out the same sort of cryptographic functions as a hardware wallet does. And so they're going to leverage that inside every modern mobile phone to create your seed phrases, private keys, sign transactions, but but doesn't have to involve you in creating various copies of that seed phrase, and then I'll have backup mechanisms to go to, sharded, as in split up secure storage for your keys and everything. And they demoed it yesterday, and it looks really good. So, instead of having that whole headache of getting seed phrases, remembering them, it's literally just install the app. You can use your thumb to sign transactions. Really slick, really clean, and yeah, and there's all sorts of things coming down the pike for that as well. Like we've had discussed in the past insurance for crypto wallets. So just like you have insurance in your bank account, effectively would have insurance on your crypto assets to combat theft or vulnerabilities that show up in any of these assets. So some really exciting things. So Midnight Passport, if you haven't heard of it yet, this is big news coming down.
So what would be, Jonathan, how would from the point of view of a user, how would you enable that? So would you actually literally go on your phone and
That's the
create the
idea.
midnight password?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the way we interact mostly with technology now, half the
Mhm.
time it's through your phone,
Yeah.
if not more. And so the idea is that you'll just install the Midnight Passport app, and then you can, um, use whatever mechanism you're comfortable with, email sign up, username, password. That will all be handled within the app like in a traditional mobile app. But then you've got this access to crypto, it's storing your seed phrase, it's ensuring it's backed up, ensuring it's secure without having to write it down, save it somewhere else. Of course, it's good. It's going to be layers upon layers of security, so you can jump in and for us, we may be very comfortable with hardware wallets and all the rest of it, so we can still interact with Passport to get access to all the other blockchain opportunities out there. We don't have to store our seed phrase on the phone. But for someone coming in from scratch, then that's the ideal perfect place. So it really lowers that barrier to entry. You and I, Luca, have been onboarding people to crypto for the past 5 years, and we know that pain is very real.
Very, very real. We're still doing it on a daily basis.
Yeah, it doesn't get easier. And so finally, someone's talking about making it easier, which is really exciting.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to ask you, Jonathan, about the Midnight. So we were talking about that, Midnight is a privacy chain, and it interacts with eight at the moment, at least, and then probably more in the near future. But at the moment, it's eight different blockchains, including Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, Ethereum, etc. Um, Now, from the point of view of I was saying of privacy, so I would say somebody entering the Midnight ecosystem. So if you see that transaction going in. And then when you're in the Midnight ecosystem, anything that happens in there basically is private. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how would it work if you kind of let's say that you go in with maybe Ethereum and you start swapping to other coins on different ecosystems through through Midnight apps. But will you still be inside the Midnight ecosystem until you completely move it out to another chain?
Yes.
I know they're still early days, so obviously
Yeah.
these products are not
Not refined
yeah,
and
not refined, not
published,
fully
and
available yet. But
yeah.
in terms of pathway, how do you see that working?
So yeah, dead right. There's a what Midnight are calling a shielded side of the blockchain and an unshielded. So unshielded is your traditional crypto space where you can just transact. Um, Everything gets stored on chain, everything's verifiable on chain. You can look up the transactions on a blockchain explorer, verify that they're carrying out what they're supposed to carry out, and all the rest of it. The shielded side is where that privacy layer is added on top. So on the shielded side of Midnight, you'll be able to deposit funds. Once they're in that shielded side, they're no longer publicly tracked and and readable. So uh, you can transact, you can send stable coins in, you can buy assets, swap them, all on that shielded side without any further exposure. So if you're a whale or you're looking to buy $170 million worth of Bitcoin, like our Japanese friends, they can do that in inside the shielded side of Midnight without their competitors, their knowing about it, focusing on it, targeting them for whatever it is, whether it's nefarious or genuine. And the time that you then move your assets out of the shielded side, whether that is into Ethereum or onto Cardano or onto Solana, then that's when the privacy layer is lost. So if you want to maintain that fully shielded side of things, then you have to maintain it within the Midnight portion of the blockchains. The ingress and egress of those assets can be seen because they're coming from a public blockchain into a private. And so that's where the privacy abilities kind of stop. But once they're inside, then you can transact as you normally would. The differentiator between Midnight and say Zcash or Monero is that you have rational disclosure, rational privacy. So you can say, okay, I'm happy for my accountant to know about this side of my private transactions. And you can, at the point of signing transactions, you can say, okay, this guy's allowed, this individual, this company is allowed to see my transactions, which means that large organizations and private individuals can equally share all their transaction data with their accountant to make sure that they're keeping on top of what's going where, with their tax man so they can fill their tax liabilities, but they don't have to share it with their next door neighbor, their employees, their competitors in the business. So it's a very well thought out, well-rounded, regulatory compliant system of privacy, which we haven't seen so far. So that's where its differentiator is. And I'm very keen to use it for bringing assets on chain, and then deciding who gets to see what happens with those assets. It's a privilege that we have in the fiat world, and it's the only differentiator really at the moment, is that no one sees what happens in my bank accounts other than me, the bank, and every bank employee. Actually, that's quite a lot of people who can see. Midnight will be different again because it's your money, your assets on chain. You decide exactly who sees it. Nobody on the blockchain on the Midnight side of things can see what happens inside your accounts, your wallets. It's the upgrade of the banking system, the business world we need to see. Dog wants a walk.
But it's important because it's not just like thinking, obviously, we individuals and thinking about it from that point of view, but from a point of view of a company, it's essential.
Mhm.
Essential because again, you don't want everybody to know your business. So without this, there is no real engagement. So it needs to be in place, whether it's through Midnight or through somebody else who offers this kind of service. This is the kind of functionality that the business needs to get involved. So the important thing is that while this is on one side, on the other side we have legislation that going through the Congress in the US. It's talking, you all will have heard about the Clarity Act. May or may not be approved soon. So that depends on negotiation in different parties and so on. But again, when that is approved, there's going to be like clarity of what law applies to what action and what agency is going to look after, for example, crypto transactions or stable coins and some things like that. So going to be like, yes, the SEC is still going to do a part of it, but also the CFTC, Commodity and Futures Trading Commission, also are going to take part of the regulatory, oversight on crypto. But we're still waiting for this Clarity Act to tell us exactly, who's going to do what, and if these are securities or commodities and all these kind of definitions that we need to know before before again, normal business that hasn't, got engaged with this, and all the crypto business that has been working on the background, can actually move on um, to the mass use phase that will definitely be coming. But we need some regularity, clarity before that can happen.
Hmm.
So yeah, so hopefully it seems like all is like a confluence of different things that point in the same direction. It's funny that maybe this will come towards the kind of like a mid to end of the third quarter, when also Bitcoin traditionally is coming to the end of its bear cycle and started to grow again. So this can be, the people that think, okay, well, this has happened 4 years ago, it's happened 8 years ago, maybe it'll happen again now. And then you think, and then there are other reasons which are the real reason, the business reason why things are happening, like the miners, they are running out of Bitcoin to sell, and the Clarity Act coming in, so new players coming on board. Maybe the Google and Apple of this world. I've got Jonathan was saying, the technology is already in your phones. They don't need to develop it. It's already there. They just need to enable it. So all these things seem to be almost like coming together at the same time to then give a push, and also the public acceptance of AI as well comes into still this narrative, because also AI need payment rails.
Hmm.
Use cash. They
Yeah.
can't use cash, but they can use crypto very easily.
Yeah.
Especially with micro payments, they are like fractions of a cent or things like this. They are not really possible with cash. But they can very, very possible in cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and that's another big arm of what Midnight are looking at, is that okay, we've got this wave of agents coming online, AI carrying out instructions for anybody and everybody. We need some way of uh, locking those down, identifying which agent is acting, that they're legitimately acting on your behalf and not. There's um, I, there's CEOs who are constantly battling against identity fraud coming in their way. So there was a story. One company had, I think it was like JP Morgan or someone. They'd had, very nearly approved transactions from an employee in the business who was coming, who had full credentials, who had, full conversation history. They were nearly like allowed to be, given access to a whole load of employee, handbook and all the rest of it. Got right the way through the interview process, and turned out it was an AI agent that was just faking the whole way. And the only way they spotted it at the last moment was that they were asking it questions about people that the individual in question should know about. And they didn't. So that's a very real threat. Just, social engineering, phone calls has been, a tool of the hackers and phishers for a long time. Now we've got AI voices, AI agents carrying out the same behavior with far more intelligence, far more access to data about individuals that they can leverage on. So how do we combat that? And we really need to do that by having signatures, digital identities that are signed by these agents before they're allowed to go any further in any conversation, any action. And that's where we didn't have an ability to do this in the past. Now we have zero knowledge that's come up through, it's in the Ethereum ecosystem, it's in the Cardano ecosystem, it's in Midnight now, really being leveraged to be able to force anybody that's interacting with the blockchain to have a signature, to have a digital identity, to lock them down and know that, okay, this is approved, this is verified by trusted institutions, by governments, by your passport and everything like that's in there. So now we can suddenly, okay, we've got this trust layer built into every interaction on the blockchain that can only be verified on the blockchain by one individual with zero knowledge proofs. And that's what Midnight comes to empower the individual to do. So yeah, the phones will allow you to store and transact, but they'll also allow you to prove your identity, beyond doubt, which is crucial if we're actually going to survive in the coming AI, uh, marauding powers that are coming in at pace. We're going to have some way to combat it, and I think this is where it's going to be. There's there's a whole lot of other opportunities out there still that we are, it's useful for us to be here at this stage. We are sitting at the bottom of a bear market. We have, all the things you've talked about this morning are opportunities coming in the future. And one of them I heard about as well was that we've got RealFi coming on board, which is a microfinance platform built out of Cardano, but it's also multi-chain as well. And they're developing a stable coin that's going to be a two-part stable coin. Part of it will be a standard dollar for dollar exchange. The other will be a yield-bearing stable coin. So we've got opportunities now where actually you can just hold a stable coin and earn yield, you know, without having to, and all, decentralized or sitting on the DeFi end of crypto, not on the private. It's not FTX, it's not any of these large providers that have folded after trauma strikes. And that's
So that would be, so if it's like a yield bearing stable coin, so it's like separate from the other stable coin, so you wouldn't need to, so it can just sit in your wallet, I imagine.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So full self-custody, but earning yield without worrying about the tax implications because it's separated from your other assets and so
Yeah.
forth. Yeah, very exciting. All new tech, all coming in fast and strong. And the pace of development hasn't slowed down at all, despite the price actions. The pace of development is still there because the big boys see the arrow
Yeah.
of time. This is where the technology is moving. This is where all of society is moving. We'll keep plowing the funds in to make sure we're not behind.
Yeah, it's actually making it easier for the big boys now to enter because the price is lower, obviously.
That's
So
exactly what they want.
yeah, exactly that. So I'm thinking, all they've been doing over the past few years is trying to, talk down crypto so they can buy, not because they want to talk down crypto. We are thinking, well, we want to make money of it as well, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So as long as you're aware of these things and you have like a long-term outlook, not like a short-term outlook, like how I'm gonna make money like next week or next month, but the long-term outlook is still the same. Bit of patience required, but we're still gonna get there.
yeah. No, it's exciting. It's all good time still.
Okay, so can we come to the end of the hour? So I'll have to bid you goodbye for the week and wish you a nice weekend. Obviously, Jonathan is going to run. It's on Cardano based question and answer session, which if you have I will encourage you to follow if you can, because if you want to know how things are really happening on a blockchain, then he's your man. So the link is on the chat box. So if you want to copy the link now before we go, please do it now. And otherwise, I'll see you back. I'll see you back next week. And Jonathan, I'll see you in a few hours later on.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Okay then. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and yeah, keep your eyes open and enjoy. So if you are in any way connected to the US, enjoy the 4th of July. Otherwise, just go on your normal business. Okay. See you again.
Thanks, Luca.
Bye. Bye, everyone.